You're still muted, ZFi. Good to go. Okay, great. So welcome back, everybody, to another Web3 demos here within BanklessDAO. These are brought to you by BanklessDAO and Fight Club. DAO relationships within BanklessDAO is responsible for helping us get these things up and running each week, and Fight Club is also responsible for some of the roles within this work stream. So we work together to help bring projects into the light of day and shed some light on the cool stuff that's being built here every Wednesday, checking out the newest, hottest Web3 tools. BanklessDAO, for those of you who don't know, is on a mission to help the world build and adopt decentralized financial services, basically everything decentralized, not necessarily financial, any sort of decentralized technology. We're here to help bring that into fruition. Fight Club is the investment DAO of BanklessDAO. We have a token-gated deal flow and investment education track that people can access through ownership of our Fight Club NFT, and anybody interested can find out more at fightclub.vc. Just a quick reminder that none of this is financial, investment, legal, tax, or any other kind of advice. We're just here having fun. So today we have an amazing project back again, who we've hosted before. This project is really doing amazing things and pushing the boundaries of what can be done on the internet. They're called Nation3. They are a new nation state on the cloud, building the internet's legal system, and they aim to become the internet's legal system. There's a lot more to it than that. With us today, we have Captain, who is the head of growth. We have 0x Gallego, who is the tech lead, and we have Tony Stark, who is a Genesis citizen and developer, and who's also a long-time BanklessDAO citizen and star contributor around the BanklessDAO ecosystem. So welcome to all three of you. I'm going to hand it over to Captain for an intro.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and also thank you so much for having us here. But yeah, you nailed it with the intro. What we're working on, maybe some context. Nation3, we're building a nation state on the internet, pretty much. The thesis is quite simple. Traditional nation states haven't worked out that well. There's a lot of inefficiencies, there's a lot of corruption, excessive taxes, and abuse of power. And we're aiming to solve this through blockchains, crypto, DAOs, etc., you name it. But the idea is just like to build a better system than the one we already have with the tools that we are developing. And as part of creating a network state on the internet, we also have to start from zero. And part of this, like layer zero that we have to build, is the internet's legal system, because we want to have a system that has proper checks and balances, right? And a core part of that is having proper legal agreements between parties so that there can't be any actual abuse of power. In Nation3, on one hand, we have our constitution, which is pretty much like conception, like as a concept, quite similar to what we would normally see as a constitution, right? Like a set of laws that have to be followed. But apart from this, we also have a Supreme Court and our Nation3 agreements. This too, like the Supreme Court and agreements, are pretty much intertwined. I think that would be the word. And I'll get more to that in a minute. But the product we're gonna demonstrate today is our Nation3 agreements. And yeah, I think that helps a bit as a bit of context about the Nation3 agreements. I think like a simply way to describe them is collateralized agreements between parties on chain, which can then be disputed by one of the parties if the other party doesn't do what they did, what they agreed to do. So this allows us to enter agreements with parties that we don't really have to trust, but we already know that they have to do what they agreed upon because there's a collateral in between. So at its current state, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like parties putting a collateral and putting in their agreement and just like agreeing upon doing X task. And if they don't do that task, they get slashed. But this can then be used for other types of applications. For example, for DAO governance, you can have disputable votes, disputable proposals where someone can put a collateral up to their proposal, and if that proposal goes against the DAO's constitution, it can then be disputed. This is all they said they were gonna do. Then you can just like pause the stream and dispute it. And I've mentioned a lot of disputes, but I haven't really talked about the court yet. So what we have is a court which works with 5 judges. This is our Supreme Court. Those 5 judges are doxed legal professionals, and they all have to be pre-approved by the DAO. So they are the ones that have to decide who gets to keep the collateral, if there's any slashing, or if maybe there isn't the necessity to have any slashing. But I'll get more to that after I finish showing the agreements. This is our new user interface that we developed, I think like 2 weeks ago. We announced it, and it's a huge improvement. It's looking very nice. So I'm very excited to be able to showcase this with you guys. We're using it on Girly for this demo, by the way. So yeah, pretty much all you have to do to create an agreement is just, I don't know, like name this agreement, name the agreement, then you drop the files. For the files, we like this interface is compatible with Markdown. We use linked Markdown, which is a slight variation of Markdown that is meant to be more tailor-made for actual legal agreements. But you don't have to use that. You can use this just like regular Markdown. For this example, I'm going to use a linked Markdown file. Second. Yeah, you can just drag and drop. This, for example, is an NFT commission agreement I made a while ago. But the content of it doesn't really matter for this demo. Then you can define the accessibility of that agreement. You can go with private, restricted, or public. Private, it's pretty self-explanatory. Nobody can see the terms of the agreement. It's private. It's kept between the parties. You can have it restricted. Oh, wait, sorry. You can have it restricted, which means that it gets uploaded to IPFS, and the parties get like generate a password, get an encrypted password that only they can have. So only they can access that file. And then public means it just gets shared directly to IPFS. Here, when we choose the participants, here we choose the parties and the stake they're going to use. Since we're using Girly, yeah, we only have like Nation3 here and wrapped ETH, but on mainnet, I believe that there's more options. But the idea is to just like make it compatible with any ERC20 token. Like that's just like the end goal. But for now, if you want to just test it on Girly, you can use Nation3 or wrapped ETH. For this example, I'm just gonna.
So it is currently live on mainnet. You're just doing this on Girly today, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm just doing the demo on Girly. I have Dashlane on, so it just shows like a random address I have. But I don't know. You can here where it says party in the participant, you can just drop the address of one of the participants, and then you just like place the collateral. For example, here I can just add 0.1 nation. And then for the second participant, yeah, it's the same thing. For example, italic. Yeah, same amount of nation. And you can add other participants, but for this case, I'm just going to go with 2. You can just like remove it. And yeah, I think, yeah, you can just proceed. You can review the agreement so far. Here we have the file we use, the type of collateral we're using, and the amount of the collateral, the parties involved. And we just create the agreement. This sometimes takes a minute or two.
So I like the way you're doing this. It's kind of like code meets law backed by human code.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the idea, right? Like to avoid kind of like on-chain agreements going off-chain, like just keep it all in the system, right?
You mentioned you've got 5 judges. What was your basis of choosing the number 5? I know obviously the US Supreme Court has 9. Having an even number makes sense so you don't get a deadlock. But do you feel that 5 is enough?
I wasn't there when they made the decision. Maybe Gallego can say something about that. But personally, I just think it's a reasonable number. It's more efficient, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, having an odd number helps. Just like always have like, don't have like a split in the
Mm-hmm.
decisions. But personally, I just think it's a matter of efficiency, and they're all doxed professionals, so it's just like people that are reliable, and they were all approved by the DAO. The admission process was quite simple as well. Like we just made like a call for judges. People posted their curriculum, why they thought it would be good, and then they were just like approved by the DAO. I don't know if Gallego, you have an answer for why specifically 5, but I just think it's like a reasonable number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's only it's a beginning, basically. Probably the Supreme Court is going to evolve in the future. And also the idea is that right now we are working with only one court that we call the Supreme Court, and that is mainly purpose for DAO, for the Nation3 DAO things. But the idea is to extend the system so more courts can incorporate to the system as you have in traditional systems where you have like different levels of courts. So people can create their own courts and resolve their own disputes, and then those disputes can escalate to other courts if needed. That's
Interesting. So it's like sharding the court system, the legal system into different. Right. So you could have a court that was specifically DeFi related, and another one that was more focused on NFTs, another one that was focused on contributions or bounties, and then
Exactly.
If somebody wanted to challenge that, I suppose you could take it all the way to the top Supreme Court.
Yeah,
Totally.
That's kind of the vision in the long run, right? Making like courts more like composable, and having more specialized courts depending on the nature of the case. But for the moment, yeah, we're just having like this one Supreme Court. Well, exactly what P said is like on point. Okay, but now going on with the demo. Here you can check the terms of the agreement. Sorry, I think I have to join it first. Yeah, so this is where you join the agreement. Yeah. So I'm the one that created it. Yep. So yeah, this part is pretty straightforward as well. Like I'm just depositing the collateral for the agreement. I'm just joining it right now. And there you go. I already joined the agreement.
Is there a minimum amount to join the agreement, or do parties stake whatever they deem fit?
I'm not 100% sure. Like, do you know? I guess you know, but there's obviously. Yeah, sorry.
There is no minimum amount. It's up to the parties. So if it makes sense, for example, for a party to join without collateral, that sometimes makes sense. If you want to have a collateral agreement that is only from one side, and the other is more like the party that oversees the agreement or whatever, you can do it that way. And right now, the only limitation is that we ask you to deposit basically what will be the dispute bond or dispute fee front. So in the case of a dispute, it will be removed from your balance, but if not, you recover it at the end of the agreement. So that will be the minimum to join an agreement to deposit the dispute fee.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. So there's like a dispute fee of 0.05 nation, which you have to stake it, but you only need it if the agreement is disputed. So if nothing happens, nobody disputes the agreement, you'll get that 0.05 nation returned to you once the agreement is finalized. And well, finalizing an agreement is pretty simple as well. You can just like signal the end, and you would just confirm it here. But you also have the alternative that once the other party joins, you can dispute it. And that's where we enter, and that's where the Supreme Court enters, right? Once you start a dispute of an agreement, you have a time window for evidence submission. And then once that evidence submission time window starts, well, sorry, once that evidence submission window ends, the judges have to decide which party wins, which party doesn't, whatever. And then they simply execute the collateral as they see it appropriately. One amendment that we've done recently is that we've allowed parties to have more freedom deciding the time window for the dispute resolution process, because initially it was roughly 5 days for evidence submission and then 4 days for the judges to emit a decision. But in some cases, it might not be necessarily practical to have such a short window. Maybe the case is very complex. Maybe the parties want more proper representation. So we've given more flexibility to the parties to define that. But maximum going up to 21 days so that the whole process isn't too slow. So yeah. And well, yeah. So once the court decides, they simply by majority decide which party gets what, pretty much.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if there's no dispute going on, simply you signal the end, confirm finalization, and you can just withdraw your collateral. And that this would pretty much mean that the agreement was fulfilled.
Interesting. And so how do people get Nation tokens? Is that something they just buy on the open market, or are they also, do you use Nation as rewards for contributions in the DAO?
Right now, the easiest way is to just get it from Balancer. So I'm using the staging app, so it can get a bit buggy sometimes. But yeah, so you can just buy it from the Balancer pool. But I believe there are the word bounties that you can get some compensation in Nation. But yeah, those are, I think, the 2 ways you can get Nation right now.
Okay, nice.
Also, we acknowledge the problem of getting tokens that have like low liquidity sometimes, and maybe that you have to get small amount, like for example, for the dispute fee. And knowing the current state of the ecosystem, where you maybe have to pay like $12 each time you want to swap, even if you want to swap like $10. We are also working on a solution for that, so you can pay with other tokens, and we do the swap in the background. So the experience is like easier. And also, we are planning to at some point release on L2s, so making it easier for people to get Nation at a cheap price, well, at least without not that much fees, and also being able to use other tokens and not being worried about Nation at all, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, layer 2 support seems like a no-brainer, especially in terms of smaller legal agreements where they don't necessarily want to pay $30, $40, $50 in gas, which, you know, as we've seen recently, especially with meme coin frenzy, gas was ridiculous. Like even minting I couldn't even donate to the Gitcoin rounds because
it was insane.
I wanted to donate $10, and it was going to cost me, after approving and sending the transaction, it was going to be over $100 to donate $10, which was
and that especially makes sense because, well, like I'm from Peru, so like I kind of like sympathize a lot with people in third world countries where it's not only like obviously our like wages in third world countries are lower, you obviously have less income, but you also have like less efficient legal systems. And this is, I think, like Nation3 agreements come in very handy in developing nations, but at the same time, you don't want to ask people from a developing country to pay that much in gas. And the same happened during the whole Gitcoin thing. Like people from developing countries couldn't really fund their own communities because of gas. So gas is always an issue, I think, and definitely something that should be addressed.
certainly. So we might be going a little off piste here, but who are your first thoughts for layer 2 integration? Optimism, Polygon, Arbitrum, other?
Yeah, I don't know if it's too early to say, but probably I definitely can say that we are looking at Optimism, Arbitrum, and Polygon. I wouldn't know if we are going with one of them or maybe all at once, but yeah, it's very early to decide. Let's see how it plays out and how they compete on the following months, because I think that they have evolved very differently from like 1 year ago. So
Yeah.
we never know.
Yeah. Okay. Staying agile. Love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much it regarding how the Nation3 agreements work, our legal system, and so on. So I don't know if B, you might want to add anything that I might have missed, or if there are any other questions.
Well, I can add like related to what we are already talking. One of the biggest changes, like this demo is based on a proof of concept. We are using it on mainnet, and we are like dogfooding it ourselves. But for us, it's like a proof of concept, and we know that it has to evolve a lot, both technically and procedures and governance and everything. And one of the biggest breakthroughs from this version to the next version is going to be actually focused about efficiency and flexibility with the agreement system. So we want to remove everything that we can from on-chain operations and work with signatures as much as we can. So everything is cheaper, everything is more flexible and more accessible for everyone. And it gives us also additional options to, for example, as Katin was saying, like maybe for some agreements, you don't want to make all the parties pay for the fees on times where, well, it's the network is unusable. So instead of that, you can use your layers with signatures and abstract all the on-chain process from the users, and they will be only singing with their wallet, and that's it. And I think I'm very hyped about that. And I think when we have it, I would love to come back and show you the progress, because I think that is going to change the UX a lot.
Yeah, definitely keep us updated with new improvements. So you mentioned this is pretty much a proof of concept right now, but you have been live for a couple of weeks. So do you have anyone actually out there deploying legal agreements, and have you had anybody finalize an agreement or come to or test the dispute process?
So far, like we've been running dispute resolutions since like internally, just to test it, because as I was saying, like this new user interface, like we've just dropped it like 2 weeks ago. Before that, it was very, very rough. So we didn't really want to go out until we've finished polishing this. And we're still like kind of like beta testing this and still getting feedback from users. So we really haven't gone full out there yet. But we've been running some mock dispute resolutions between us and still gathering more feedback.
Okay, and what have you learned from that mock dispute process?
That nothing, like that sometimes things don't always work the way you plan it initially. And that's why we also amended our dispute resolution process, because you just keep on, like, the more you test something, the more you gather info about about stuff that can be modified or that can improve the experience, generally speaking. And it's been pretty insightful. But I think like mostly the part like that we had to be specific about is like the time windows we were using and giving the parties this flexibility, because I think it matters. And I think it also resonates with traditional arbitration, where parties also have this certain degree of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Okay.
I will also add to this that the other thing that we learn and that we are also focused on is about the user experience. We know that telling you like, hey, drop here your terms, it's a little bit scary sometimes, because most of people don't know a lot about legalese stuff. So one big feature we are working on is giving templates. So actually creating an agreement will be like a really easy process where you can take a template that has been already reviewed by professionals, and you can fill the gaps and have your legal agreement for like common things like contributor agreements, maybe loans, maybe non-disclosure agreements. But those common types of agreements are already pre-made for you. And so the experience is basically clicking, filling some gaps, and going on chain.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was actually wondering earlier is, how are you getting these templates? So do you potentially see a marketplace for those types of templates? I mean, I suppose the only thing that would get in the way of that is templates are easily forkable. So maybe not, but is that something that you've considered as some sort of template marketplace?
I think long term it would be awesome to have it. I think we already have some conversations about this in the community, and maybe not now, but because as you say, like first we have to like get to that minimal concept that let you fork easily a template and work with it, and that will take a little bit of time to polish. But yeah, having a marketplace and having professionals offering their templates and even like ratings and everything, I think it will be great. And it's something that we already know that in crypto works very well with protocols like, for example, Dance, where you create content and people like basically use your content, and you can generate community revenue or community value doing that. I think that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to build on that, templates are fantastic if everyone had the same needs and requirements, but we all know that that's not the truth of it. So possibly another services integration would be offering quote unquote legal advice where people could help you build out those templates and say, okay, you're an NFT project. This is the type of template you'll need. Let me help you figure out how we're going to populate this with the primitives required. So, if you're offering real world assets on chain, if you're offering securities, if you're offering token warrants, I suppose they would be able to help you build those things out.
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be at some point some sort of contribution with lawyers. Something I was thinking about, but it's just like a random idea. Like potentially having hackathons for like lawyers, legal engineers to draft legal templates and just like take the best ones of different categories for specific uses and obviously compensate them for that template, and then you can use it in a more generalized way. But yeah, I think there are cases where there might have to be more tailor-made templates where we will have to collaborate with lawyers, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And have you been in contact or collaborating with other DAOs like LexDAO, other legal?
Oh, yeah. I'm a member, like I'm part of the committee of LexDAO. I've been there for a couple of years now. So, and yeah, like when we first started with this, or when I first joined Nation3, I did a demo with LexDAO, and I've been like talking with lawyers from there as well.
Nice. Yeah, so touching back on funding operations, how are you funding? I know you mentioned some Nation tokens being distributed, but do you have a treasury that's funding this, or do you have some investment backers?
On that, I think
Yeah.
he knows more than me. Yeah.
I can take that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Basically, like we have our own token that we use for the most part for funding community work and also to give like ownership to the people that is contributing to the project. But also we have a grant program. Currently, we have a grant from Aragon. That is, well, it's a partnership grant. It's a little bit more complex, but basically they are our main funders. And also we have some bakers that have invested in the token and have given us a good runway to build this, basically.
Okay. And the Nation token that you mentioned ownership, obviously that's part of what Web3 is all about, tokens giving ownership in the DAO, in the community. So I'm guessing those Nation tokens are used as a voting mechanism to decide who the court members are, and how the DAO operates on a daily basis?
Yeah, totally. Nation is basically the vehicle to every Nation3 service and project system. And one of those is being a citizen and participating in the governance. And citizens have the power to basically drive the DAO. So they are the ones that, for example, as Kathleen mentioned before, they were the ones that approved the code. They will be the ones that approve the next versions of the protocol. They will be the ones that approve the next big decisions. So yeah, Nation is ownership of the DAO, and when you become a citizen, you become part of the system.
Aha, cool. So speaking of citizens, we have Tony Stark here today, who's a Genesis citizen. He's also a long-time, are you a Genesis member of, or an airdrop recipient, Tony Stark from BanklessDAO?
Oh yeah, I'm an airdrop recipient, and I kind of got involved in Nation kind of as a developer, but yeah, I've been experimenting with the technology, and I kind of pretty love it.
So tell us, what are you most bullish about from the Nation3 standpoint?
For me, it's kind of like the ease. So like when you want to get into an agreement now, the ease that and zero trust you require to get into an agreement with a third party online. I've kind of, worked in different situations where maybe because we didn't get into a proper agreement, we lost kind of a lot of funds, right? But with this, I can get into a collateral back agreement, and I'm secured, or I kind of have the insurance that, okay, even if anything goes our way, I will still, find security in that there is a collateral that I can always get back. That part, and I'm bullish on this idea of like network states, and I would love to see it come to fruition where people with aligned mindset can come together and maybe move to physical land eventually. And I'm not restricted by, I guess, my physical location. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I can totally see that. When I originally read Balaji's report on nation states, which I'm pretty sure Nation3 was spun out of those original concepts, the thing that came to mind was, okay, if I own land, let's say I own some land in the States, and I add that land to my nation state, it kind of exists in two locations. So how do we get around that?
Can you repeat that question?
So it exists in its physical nation, which would be the United States. But then in a nation like Nation3, you could have physical land that exists in multiple nations. So how, I mean, in terms of disputes, legal disputes, is there sort of conflicts that could arise between the physical nation, the physical legal agreements and the I don't want to use the word metaverse because that's not the right word for this. The digital land. That was the first question that I had.
Actually, I would let Katin go.
No, that's a great question. So it's sort of like what happens when there can be like a I don't know, disagreement between what a real life jurisdiction says versus what we execute.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of like, it's going back to our dispute resolution process. We've done it pretty much as similar as to, or as compliant as possible with traditional arbitration standards. So that way our agreements should be enforceable in any jurisdiction that complies to any type of like internationally recognized arbitration standards. But then again, obviously, there could always be the case of some countries that simply don't follow those standards. And in those cases, there could be a disparity, I guess. But in the end, I think those issues happen more when you try to enforce an agreement based on something off-chain and not on-chain. But in most cases, I don't think it would happen because of the way we've structured our dispute resolution process. But yeah, it's something definitely very, very interesting and worth examining.
Yeah, so try and stick to the physical as much as you can, without going too far off track, but making it easier to make these things fully on chain and more easily deployable without having to resort to your physical embodiment of the same.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's pretty straightforward. It's like traditional courts have no idea of what happens in crypto and pretty struggle quite a lot understanding what we're doing. So having on-chain courts just makes so much sense for on-chain disputes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would add that not only for on-chain things, actually, I think that
Yeah.
traditional courts that don't understand tech at all. So it's not only on-chain, it's what we call the internet's legal system. The internet economy has evolved so fast that the traditional legal systems and the courts are so far behind that there is a gap for these kind of systems. Arbitration have been growing, and these arbitration have been growing in the last years at a speed that hasn't been seen before. And basically our approach is, let's take what works from arbitration and let's give it a little change with the power of crypto to make it based on crypto principles like DAOs and shared governance, and using assets that you can easily transfer without the need of a court to enact the decision of an arbitrator. So yeah, that was the beginning of this. Basically, you have to think about it as an opt-in jurisdiction, where if you operate with full on-chain assets and internet relationships, then you don't have to worry about anything traditional, anything physical. But you could also incorporate things from the traditional world into this system. But of course, you have to acknowledge that, well, in traditional world, you don't have the option to opt out of your jurisdiction. So it would be more kind to an leader arbitration system. So it has a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah, so it's definitely geared towards the technical implementation of legal agreements, and that leads us to one of the questions that Salman has in the crowd. He says, "What kind of projects and communities do you expect to adopt Nation3, and what kind of use cases do you foresee?"
Sorry, Peter, you want to take that question? Or
I don't mind. You can take it.
okay. No, go ahead. I think. Are you gonna take it? Okay. Sorry, I was gonna. Sorry, my bad. I was gonna ask you if you can repeat that question.
Yeah, what projects and communities do you expect to adopt Nation3, and what use cases do you foresee?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I think like generally DAOs pretty much. I think that's like our first. I think target like first users should be DAOs, because I think they're pretty much the structures within crypto that engage more with other parties and often have multiple contributors, and it's often a game of trust. And sometimes I think it's cool not to have to trust others to be efficient with the stuff they do, and also to ensure that you don't get robbed by contributors or by whoever has to pay you, and simply removing friction in those processes. I think DAOs that engage with other parties would be our main focus initially, but also anyone that wants to contract with anybody else on chain, pretty much, or online as well.
And I could add in a particular use case that could even be beneficial to BanklessDAO. Think about like the situation of coordinate, right? If a role holder asks to get into an agreement with the bank or the BanklessDAO, a DAO, and they get into an agreement that, okay, if they're going to be controlling a fund of like 50,000 or 500,000 bank, they should get into an agreement equivalent to that. So if they rogue the DAO, in that case, we can just slash them and retrieve the collateral back to the DAO. So we actually didn't lose anything from, their attack of DAO.
Right, that makes sense. So no one is in control of any more funds than they would actually potentially lose themselves if they were slashed.
That is true, correct.
Okay, interesting. Well, yeah, I've got a ton of questions, but we're coming up at the end of time here, so we're going to have to save them for the next time you're back and we get some updates. And of course, I'm going to explore more on my own. If somebody wants to learn more about Nation3, what are the best places to go to?
Definitely, I would say, well, our Discord, our website. We've just launched a new website. It's pretty sweet. I don't know if Gallego can drop the link down there. But I would say just join our Discord. We also have a forum, but I think Discord is the way to get more direct comms with us and engage more with the community there. Also following us on Twitter to stay up to date.
Okay, nice. Well, we'll definitely be following you on Twitter. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, just jump into the Discord there, and I'm sure you'll be received with open arms. Did you guys want to share anything else before we finish here today?
Not on my end. I don't know if Diego or Tony have anything else.
No, from my end.
I would say only like thanks for having us. And it's always a pleasure to come here. And yeah, we will give you updates on the progress, and also like if anyone wants to try it and anyone wants to give feedback, let's see you in Discord. And if you need a nation for Gorley to test it, yes, contact us, and we can even do a workshop or something also for people that have doubts about how it works. It will be, yeah, everything will be great.
Nice.
Also, I wanted to add something. And I think I know BanklessDAO has an education guild, and you did ask a question of if someone wants to learn how to use Nation3, where do they go? I mean, this can be an opportunity for a cross collab where we can figure out a I guess a reservation where Bankless Education Guild kind of create education materials for Nation3.
Well, ZFi, you're actually a big part of Education Guild. I guess it's Education Department currently, and then moving back to Education Guild. Did you want to hop up on stage? It looks like our next guest isn't actually here, so I don't think we have any problems going over currently. He says he can chat a bit later, but not now. Okay. But yeah, that's a great point, Tony Stark. It would be interesting to see. Oh, the stream won't pick up his mic. It would be interesting to see if there's any sort of integration between Education Guild and Nation3. That would definitely be cool. Also, the BanklessDAO Legal Guild. Have you been in touch with them?
No, but yeah, that's a very good point. We definitely should we should.
Well, I think that we already have, and we know a couple people there, but I don't know. Luis is know more about the relation with Bankless Legal. But yeah, we definitely would love to continue chatting with them.
I've talked with friends that are part of Bankless Legal, but I haven't talked about a proper personally of a proper a formal call out.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then in terms of other partnerships, we were actually discussing Nation3 recently in Bankless Card. Bankless Card is, I'm not sure if either of you are familiar with it. I know Tony Stark is, but we're building a card that is based on the affinity card model. So the same as airlines, how they give airline points, or a sports team would give you points in their own ecosystem. But rather than giving points, we're going to be giving DAO tokens. So we'll take those on-chain fees and convert them into DAO tokens. And you have your own token and you have your own community of people. So that might be something worth exploring as well. Who would be the best person for us to speak with about that?
I guess with myself.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I like the concept.
Great. All right. Well, I'm just going to add you as a friend, and then we can go ahead and take that that conversation into the DMs. All
Sounds
I do
good.
is a friend as well, Gallego. Yeah, nice. And yeah, we can explore that a little bit more. The idea is to essentially get DAO tokens into more hands as possible, and then teach Web2 users how to interact with Web3 without going through the rigmarole of creating a MetaMask and learning how to conduct transactions on chain, reducing the ruggability of transactions, and then teach them how to interact safely so they can go from the wading pool into the shark pool.
That's pretty cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, nice. So I don't know. I see we have Rares.jos in the crowd. I don't believe you are from Palmyra, but if you are, give me a thumbs up. Yes, I'm inviting you to speak, Rares.
And just to clarify, the Nation3 demo is coming to an end right now, right?
Yeah, Nation3 demo is coming to an end right now,
Okay.
especially if Rares is from Palmyra. So if not, I was going to just keep asking you questions.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Anyways, yeah, we won't take more time from you guys. So
well, I know that there is, there is some other stuff to this. It's not just a legal system. So the next time that you're around, we're definitely going to dive more into that, into the other features of what Nation3 is providing.
sounds good. Sounds good.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us on stage. Katin, Gallego, and Tony Stark for joining us from Nation3 today. I just wanted to remind everybody that none of this has been financial, investment, legal, tax, or any other kind of advice. We did talk about some legal things, and potentially that could turn into legal advice through that Nation3 integration, which is really amazing because that would all be done in a compliant way. But we're just diving into things, exploring the boundaries of Web3 as we go along. So if anybody out there listening has their own project that they would like to demo here on the BanklessDAO Discord and get access to the Fight Club YouTube channel, just give me a shout. You can reach me at the NF Thinker on Twitter, or you can reach out to Fight Club VC on Twitter or BanklessDAO Twitter and ask for the form, sign up, and come and give your own demo of your own Web3 project. So we hope to hear from you too. Thanks a lot, everybody from Nation3, and we'll see you at the next one.